We did talk to him.
I'd like to call this meeting of the Carpentersville Village Board to order. Terry, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Burroway.
Here.
Trustee Stevens.
Here.
Trustee Humphrey.
Here.
Trustee Sabi.
Here.
Trustee Rayburn.
Here.
Trustee Schultz.
Here.
President Ritter.
Here. We have the Pledge of Allegiance. We do not have an invocator here tonight, so we'll rise for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, you haven't been here much lately, have you? It's good to see you again.
Yes.
One of our most faithful attenders of meetings, and I was a little worried when I hadn't seen you for a few weeks. You're good?
Wow.
Yeah,
Time flies.
it was nice to see you back.
Yeah.
But
No
I
Trump
digress.
crowd,
Sorry about that.
No Trump crowd.
All right. We have no proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, or awards. We have one appointment, and that is Mr. Russ Moorhead to the Police Pension Board. I need a motion.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Motion, Paul. Second, was that Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Second, Kevin. Any discussion from anyone? If not, Terry, call the roll, please.
Trustee Humphrey.
Yes.
Trustee Sabi.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn.
Yes.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Well, since everybody but Bonnie here works for us, I'm going to guess we don't have any commenters this evening. Okay. Next would be consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of those items unless the trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Any items to be removed?
I'll motion to pass the consent agenda.
I'll
second.
Motion, Paul. Second, Jeff.
Ginger recognizes.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Discussion.
Ginger.
Well, whoever's faster. I heard Jeff first. You lose, Ginger.
We recognize you.
I know how much you like to have your name in the stuff, but
Mr. President,
anyway,
if I may, I'm sorry. Yes, if I may, I apologize. You do have before you, and I'd ask the movement in the seconder. You have a revised set of minutes under item B for the special meeting of November 10th,
I'll
2000.
amend the motion. For the
okay.
revisions.
So
I'll
you
amend the
amended
motion
for
the
revised
revisions.
minutes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeff, you okay with that?
I am okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. So motion as amended. Terry, call the roll, please.
Trustee Sabi.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn.
Yes.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Humphrey.
Yes.
Reports of manager, officers, commissions, and staff. Mark?
We have no reports this evening.
Okay. Pat, anything?
No, nothing to report from Parks tonight. Thank you.
Audit and Finance, we have a meeting coming up on February 9th, 7 p.m. I'm excited. We'll have a lot of things on the agenda, and we'll also be trying out some new technology here that will hopefully be able to get some of our meetings out to a broader audience. So happy about that.
February 9th. Do you have a time?
7 o'clock.
Paul?
We had a BDC commission meeting right before Christmas. It was a pretty long meeting. A lot of discussion. A request has been made by the BDC to have another joint meeting with the Audit and Finance Commission. They want to talk about several things they want to introduce in the village, namely rebranding the village. And, you know, some of the items that were brought up have monetary, will need funding to be able to do that. I'm not talking, you know, logos or anything like that, but more ideas making things common throughout the village. There's definitely a desire and effort to try to bridge the gap in the village here, to try to present ourselves as one village, and that's the intent, to have that discussion with a larger audience. We went through that pretty much. We spent a lot of time in that area. We also talked. We had our new economic development director here, Patrick, and sat through the 3.5-hour meeting with us as his first meeting here, and he's still here. So that's a good thing. So, but he did bring up some really good items. He's got a lot of experience. He was able to relay back to the Business and Development Commission. I think they were pretty impressed with him. So that was a takeaway I got from the members afterwards. We did talk about retention, attracting new businesses, some ideas Patrick brought up, and I'm not saying we're going to move forward on any of these, but they were just discussed at this point, very much in the incubation period. Again, promoting the village through branding and marketing, and there was some discussion on signs to kind of bring to light or make residents aware of things that have already been accomplished or things that are available. So we discussed that in some detail. One of the members brought up an alternative to the roundabout. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know where we left it even. Mark, did you? Oh, you've got it. Okay. So Mark Huber, Community Development, is going to take a look at that. It would involve closing off Washington Street for a section. I don't think it may not fly from a transportation perspective because semi-trucks use that route. So that's what we're looking into right now. And then from there discuss if that's even a viable alternative to do something like that. So given the schedules of the members, I'm probably looking, Kevin, somewhere in March or April to have that joint meeting. I think we're still a little bit of time away from when I'll have my entire commission available to meet as one group.
Okay.
And thinking about that too, over the vacation, maybe there's something we should do on an annual basis, or at least every other year.
Yeah.
Just bring the commissions together and let everybody kind of voice their opinions, and we can talk. I don't know if you guys would be for that, but that's something I think may want to consider.
It'd be a great idea.
Yeah. So.
Well, it would certainly inform the other commissions of budgetary issues, which are the main topic at an Audit and Finance meeting. So, that would be a good idea.
So we adopted our meetings for 2016, and the next one, I think, what I see, the 26th of this month. We're moving our meetings to 6:30 in the evening from 5 o'clock, so there will be that change. And that's due to me starting a new job that is downtown Chicago, and I won't have Tuesdays off, which is a good thing. So we're going to start our meetings at 6:30 on a preliminary basis. We may change that if it just gets difficult to get there by 6:30. So, and other than that, that's all I had for business and development.
Don?
Quadcom, there's, I think the meeting is in March, if I recollect correctly. I have the schedule on in my computer there, but I have yet to really look it over. We did have a Jelkes Creek Fox River Watershed Coalition meeting last night, yes. And one of the things that came up, and I'm working with Bob Cole on this, is the signs that we'd like to get made up for the different areas where, like, a bridge goes over a creek, Jelkes Creek, Carpenter Creek, perhaps. So we're looking into that. I kind of go between with that and see if our sign people can help us out with that. So that's what we talked about last night. And the CMAP plan is that's due to come out here shortly, the Fox River plan. So we're looking forward to that, and we will be looking at that closely. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that takes care of all of our reports for this evening. No old business under new business. Can we take these all as one?
You can. I think it's the managers and our recommendation that perhaps you take items A through C as one set and D through F as one set, as each group of three ordinances relates to one single TIF.
Okay. Is that all right with the board if we take them as two groups, A through C and D through F?
I'll motion to pass A, B, and C together.
Motion. Second was Ginger. Motion, Paul, second, Ginger, to take A, B, and C as a group.
And before I recognize Marty Burke to do an overview of the first TIF district, we're going to speak about
Hart, if you just give the perfunctory, the report of the meeting notices and everything that we've done to be in compliance with the law.
Absolutely happy to, Manager Rooney. Thank you. And a lot of this is set forth in the board report that's available as part of tonight's agenda packet. As the village board and president and staff knows, and the public that's watched, this is the culmination of a long required statutory process for each of these two TIF districts. The first one is the proposed Spring Hill Mall TIF district. The process commenced several months ago when this board adopted a resolution setting a public hearing. We have had the public hearing that occurred in December. Before that, there was a joint review board meeting. I imagine Mr. Burke will go into more details of that, but all of those required steps have taken place. All notices have been sent out. This is the final step in the process. The board is not burdened or obligated to do anything one way or another as a result of that process, but if the board approves the three ordinances for this TIF and then following for the proposed Old Town Route 31 TIF, that will be the last official step, and these TIF districts will be created. If anyone has any legal questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would turn it over to Mr. Burke.
Thank you. Good evening. Happy New Year. I don't think I've got much more to say other than what's been said, but in your packet you do have the ordinances. The ordinances have been around for a while in draft form. We did review those with the JRB, and in November 16th, as you'll see in the cover memo, the JRB did recommend the three ordinances, or the adoption of the three ordinances and the creation of the TIF for the Spring Hill Mall redevelopment. As you recall, the Spring Hill Mall redevelopment is mostly going to occur in the village of West Dundee, but Carpentersville's portion of the financial commitment is approximately $1 million plus interest over time. We're not so sure that we'd like to think that the mall is going to be successful enough that amount of money would be paid out. We have our doubts a little bit, but we also are hoping for a good result in the mall. And in the long run, the village would be happy to pay out its share as long as the mall is successful. As we've mentioned to you in a few staff reports, we had not received a signed copy of the sales tax agreement from the developer. We did today receive a revised term sheet, some small changes in that term sheet, recommended changes we assume from the developer. We'll be looking at that at the staff level, and the village attorney will be consulted, and we'll let the board know what is happening with that. As you recall, the board approved, or both boards approved that agreement, but the developer had not signed it. So now we've got something revised. As I said, they look to be fairly minor revisions, but we will review that, and I'm sure Manager Rooney will come back to you with a report on that. So having said all that, is there something else on the Spring Hill Mall redevelopment area that I could discuss with you or answer questions?
Well, I'm going to bring up one sore point. We were supposed to get a letter from the developer freeing that one property from restrictions. Have we ever gotten that?
No, and I'm assuming that's being held until they actually sign off on the sales tax sharing agreement. Doesn't mean it would have to be held, but I assume that's what they're doing.
I don't think it's something to stop the deal, but it's a little disappointing that they haven't done that yet. But I don't think that's a deal breaker. I couldn't see us. But I wanted the trustees to just know that, because I know that's been a concern of several trustees, and we have not received the release yet.
Well, it's certainly
informational,
disappointing for the whole process in the sense that they haven't signed off on the documents that the village of Carpentersville and the village of West Dundee responded to their request to get those done as quickly as possible, and I think the village of Carpentersville especially worked very hard to get that done as quickly as possible within reason, and now we've waited a couple months for them to sign. That seems a little silly on their part, but we've got it now, and hopefully in the next couple of days that'll be signed off on. And then the release of that or the change to that I want to say easement document. It's not an easement, covenant restriction would be amended. So,
question, Pat?
Yeah, well, once the staff looks at that and then we get that report, so, and it is a sticking point, there's no doubt about it. We had a time frame that they gave us. We committed to that time frame. At that time, we discussed, we wanted within the time frame that covenant released then. And obviously, they have not held to that. So I guess I'm concerned that once we have that, that we'll be seeing us knocking on their door all the time. Where's the covenant release? Where's the covenant release? I would like to see something in where, you know, just before the ink is dry on the paper, that they hand that over. To be honest with you, I'm not directing it just at you. I'm just saying in general, because I would not be surprised if 4 months from now we're sitting here still talking about this at this point. So I think if we have any leverage anywhere, that we should use it. So.
And we have an RDA to sign and the next final agreement, and
Okay.
that would be our point.
Okay, so you bring that to the table, we bring that, our piece to the table then. So, okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I guess that does it for this one. We're ready to vote on it. We have a motion and a second. Terry, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
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 Don, you want to put in your vote on the first three amendments?
Ordinances.
Or ordinances, rather.
Yes.
Okay. Then I need a motion for the next three
I'll make that motion.
to include, you have to say to include all three.
Oh, I'm sorry, to include all three of them, please.
We have
I'll
a second?
second.
Motion, Pat, second, Ginger.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Marty.
Good, we're having some fun.
Thanks again, Mr. President. Again, you've got three separate ordinances to approve. The one TIF district, this is for the Old Town and Route 31. In this case, we're not waiting for a developer to do anything. Once you do this, then we start the process of doing what needs to be done with the ordinances and doing what needs to be done with the financing. And at this point, I would just point out that the drawing of the TIF district is at my feet, and I assume that's on camera at this point. It's going to be a complicated process for the village in the future to work through this TIF, but it offers some challenges, but it offers some great benefits to the village.
Okay. Any questions or comments on the Old Town TIF?
Just,
Paul?
just some information. The roundabout video is up on the village's website. I'm not saying that's going to be part of this, but that is one of the items that could be part of this. So we're very far away from that, confirming that plan, but it is available if you want to see it. It's on the village's website.
Anybody else? If not, Terry, call the roll.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Trustee Burway?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Hufford?
Yes.
Trustee Savi?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention very briefly, the JRB will meet on Thursday at 9 a.m. That's to discuss the amendment to TIF number 1 and the annual meeting for TIF number 1. We would expect that the board would be looking at the ordinances or and the agreement to amend that TIF at there'll be a public hearing on the 2nd of February. And then we would expect that an ordinance would be presented to you shortly after that for adoption.
Spring Hill Commerce Parkway.
Thank
That's
you.
the ability to port, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this would be the amendment to be able to port funds.
Among other things, that's correct.
Okay. Bonnie, you came back on the right night. That's one of the biggest things we've passed in years here, the two TIFs. I'm glad you came. Oh, well, trustee reports. We'll start with Ginger this evening.
I have no report, but Happy New Year to everyone.
Paul?
Yeah, same thing. Just wish everyone a happy new year. And that's all I have.
Jeff?
I just wanted to say that I've seen a lot of comments lately on a lot of village issues on Facebook, on Community Blotter, and things like that. And I love to see people talking about it. And I would encourage those people to come to the meetings and talk to us about it, as opposed to just on Facebook, so more people in the village can hear what you have to say and get involved as well. Happy New Year.
And to keep the facts straight.
That would be nice as well. Yeah.
The only thing I want to note is that I'm sure I'm not the only trustee who noticed. Trustee Schultz already brought this up too, but some bad news over the holiday. Illinois census data shows Illinois population decline highest in U.S. from 2014 to 2015. This is a continuing trend, and this is something that that we need to be aware of with every ordinance we pass and every tax that we look at and every dollar that we spend. Because it's all related to this. I know that a lot of the stories have been pushing it's about weather and it's about things that aren't related to politics and jobs, but I don't buy that for a second. I think it's tied entirely to taxes and the ability for private sector employees to make a living. That concludes my report.
Pat?
Well, I concur. Thank you. Just as an aside, because I know you bring up stuff from the Mayor's Caucus, from the city, Ed, the PMI, that index that they look at, the Purchasing Manufacturers Index, Chicago is way under what they expected it to be, meaning that people are not putting out orders for manufacturing. And, I mean, it's bleak. So, and it's with less and less people out there to foot the bill. Kevin's right. We really have to be very scrupulous about what we do, you know. So thank you for bringing that up, Kevin. And I would like to mention, if I could, President Ritter, that we had talked a little bit about putting together an events committee. And so if we could work on maybe getting it out and get a few people.
I was going to ask you later if we could, you and I could sit down tomorrow and
sure, absolutely.
write out some sort of an invitation.
Yeah, sure, that would be fine. And then so that we could get that going, so still in talks with some folks on a big event here in town that I just want to say, I don't want to reveal too much, but 5 of those people made a journey down to Carpentersville on Sunday and walked the park for 2 hours and are extremely enthusiastic. So this could be a big event, and so we need to talk, Ed. We need to get some people on board. We've talked to Ginger, part of that ad hoc committee, and we've got a couple other people, but we need a few more. So anyway, I'm looking forward to what I hope will be a nice year, you know. So, and that would conclude my report. Thank you.
All I have tonight is wish everybody a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Ed, could I add one thing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, can I add one thing? No,
I'm sorry, did I jump over you?
No, you didn't.
No.
I forgot something.
Oh, okay.
No, I forgot to mention, I met the week before New Year's with Ben Churchill from District 300, Dr. Churchill, just to talk about the schools and what's going on in the schools. And he suggested, and I'm very excited about, we're going to do like a half day, and he's going to take me around to several of the schools, meet some of the principals, find out what their issues are. And he said if any other trustees are interested, he would be happy to set it up. We can only have so many at a time, obviously, for rules, but he would be happy to take anybody. So this is something I'm going to do, and I encourage others to do too, so we can just get it from the horse's mouth.
Why don't you just send us a day and a date, and if any of us can go when you're going.
Is it this week? If it's this week, Jeff,
No, I haven't even scheduled it yet, but like he told me to contact him after the first of the year, and we're going to set it up. But yeah, he'd be happy to take us out. So I think that'd be really nice to actually go into the schools and see what they have to say.
It'll be a district-wide or a Carpenter?
Wherever we want to go. So, but it's District 300. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Could I add something too, real quick? Ed?
Sure.
I just remembered. I don't want to drag this on
On
too long,
vacation?
but- yeah. There was a Daily Herald article quoting a bunch of mayors from the area saying what the New Year resolutions were, what they want to see in the New Year, and I just wanted to compliment you on your portion of that article. I thought it was the most detailed and the most thorough explanation of what's happening in the village compared to what some of the other mayors and village manager, not village managers, but village presidents were saying in their quotes. It was very well done. So I just wanted to thank you for putting out a very good piece about Carpentersville, very informative.
Well, I have to share the credit because Mark was a great support in giving me ideas to put in there, so.
That's good, though. That's
Thank
good
you.
collaboration. That's,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who, as long as that message is getting out there that of what we're doing, that's the bottom line.
That's good.
Okay. I had the opportunity the other day, one of our inspectors was going out to Walmart to inspect something for the buildings. I just asked if I could tag along and just see what Walmart's looking like. Because it was the day after we had that really bad snow and we could hardly get in there, but that's another story. We did get in, and the inside of Walmart is, what you might expect. It's completely closed in. They're going to have skylights through the entire building. All the regular lighting, all the ceiling lighting is up. They should be pouring concrete for the floors and everything this week. And no, first they were going to pour pads for freezers, but it's very far along. Our inspector and I were both amazed at how fast it is going because it's going quite well. And I did learn an interesting fact, not that it's important or anything, but they did have all the overhead lights up and turned on. And the contractor who does the electrical work said they're all LED lights, and the entire building only draws 50 watts for their lighting. That's what we have for one light bulb. The entire building is all LED lights. They draw next to nothing, and that was his claim. They only draw 50 watts. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You can light that entire building for 50 watts of electricity. I was flabbergasted. You sure? You sure don't mean 500? He said, no, 50. He ought to know he installed the system. So anyway, Walmart is moving along quite well. They have a very aggressive target date to finish up, and then once the contractors get done and everything's in, then it takes about 5 weeks to put up the shelves and stock the shelves and so forth and so on, train the employees. So, but they're working very aggressively on this, and it's exciting to see.
Ed, do they have an opening, even a ballpark opening? Do you?
May, they think they'll have all the construction done by May, and then there will be the 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay.
They always give themselves a little lag
Sure,
time.
I
So
understand.
I think
I'm not
in their
holding
mind
you
date
to
is
anything.
it probably actually a little sooner than that. But
Really? Yeah.
their target date is beginning of May, month to fill it.
Oh, okay.
That
Great.
beginning of June or mid-June.
Hey,
We'll
Ed-
see,
Yeah.
That's all. You never know when you could run into a problem on stuff like that. But
Can I
We had a
add
mild
something?
winter.
The contractor for the
Yeah.
Walmart is Novak, which is their head office is in Chicago, right along 90, and they have the best decorations for everything. Christmas, I mean, they do. I mean, and even if you take the train in, they've got like paver blocks for their parking lots. I mean, it's really it's right before you get to Wrigley on Addison there. You'll see it on the I guess that would be the north side of the street, but it's really cool. They just do the best with the decorations. So
Terry had a ringside seat to watching them helicopter up the air conditioning and things up and the heating up onto the roof, so she could see it right out her window.
I think somebody posted a video on Facebook of that, on one of the blotters.
Could be. If any of you are interested, I'm sure you could call Community Development, and they have inspectors going out there almost every day. I'm sure that they would let you tag along, just wear some boots because it is muddy, if it's recent. But the inspectors might not like that because they'll think we're looking over their shoulder, but I wasn't really there, anything to do with him.
Or just nosy.
We do have 2 openings on the Park Commission. One just happened, but I also have somebody that at the next meeting I'll ask you guys to approve, so we're down to 1 opening because
Okay.
our fellow from India is resigning and his wife is applying, so they're going to swap positions because they can't both be home at the same time. They can't both be gone at the same time because they have nobody to watch their kid. But that still leaves us 1 opening because we had someone else who's
Yeah.
resigned. So anybody who's interested, the Parks Committee has a lot of functions, and especially
Let Ed know.
with the gaming money. There's a lot to do there with spending the gaming money. Oh, I better keep going here. Yeah, the Metropolitan Mayor's meeting is next week. That should be, we have a lot of stuff on the agenda. Hopefully I will have some interesting things to report when we get back. But another one, and I think I mentioned this in a previous meeting, the CMAP and all the planning agencies and agencies around Chicago have been working off what they called their 2020 plan. They started it, I don't know when they started it, 2005 maybe or 7, and it was a plan on how they would develop between that period and 2020, which now is approaching. So now they're working on their 2040 plan, and they plan to have an open house in February where they will roll out ideas for their 2040 plan. And I know I've had a couple of things that I thought, and I mentioned to you that I will definitely be there to voice my opinion on two different things. One is the idea that transportation money that has been distributed across the entire collar counties, some of them are advocating that money be brought back in, not to Chicago, but what you might consider the first ring of industrial areas around Chicago. And so rather than paving streets here, it would go to development there. I'm not keen on that idea at all. I don't know why we who have problems enough getting our streets paved the way they should be would now give up our money and let it go into the inner ring of a lot of times places that have just been neglected by the people who live there. Yeah. And now we're suddenly going to bootstrap them up with giving up all our transportation money, surface transportation program, STP money. And the other one is the open space provisions, where they would take money that has gone for other types of development and use it for open space development. And my own personal feeling is that that's something that local communities and counties need to do. Our county, if we want open space, we should vote for it, we should have referendum, and we should put it in, which we have done. And for us to now give up money that comes from Washington so somebody else somewhere else who has been negligent is now going to get that money to put in open space does not seem appropriate to me. And I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads, so I have a feeling when I go I can say, our board has heard some of these proposals and we're very leery of that. I can't see Pat, but I'm going to guess you're not really excited about those ideas either.
No, because I'm not a CMAP fan. I've said that many times here. And the other thing is, if the county's going to use that money for open space, then they should leave it at open space. They did not do that with the Bruner property, Ed.
I understand that. Well, that's our own. That's us. And
right.
We have control over that.
Right. But I know when you say, right, exactly. So.
And we can, people could protest. I mean,
Right.
we've got an animal farm there, and we've got some other things but that's here nor there. I'm just going to speak personally, but I think I can speak for the rest of us that those are not good ideas to take money away from one area or from the entire area to give them to places that have neglected themselves. So,
do you have a consensus from the other mayors?
Pardon?
Do you have a consensus from the other mayors on where they stand?
Well, no, I haven't been to a meeting where the other mayors have all been in the same place.
Right.
Well, the 8 or 9 mayors that meet in this CMAP group where I go, the executive committee, I've voiced my opinions on both of those there. And I think eventually when I get to I haven't been to a Northwest Municipal legislative conference yet, but I will definitely express my opinion there. There are 12 or 14 mayors that meet, sometimes every month, sometimes every other month, depending on what's going on.
Okay.
So, no, I will express my opinions there as well, because it's too important to let go. With that, I will conclude my remarks, and we're ready for a closed session for items 2C1 and 2C11 of the Open Meetings Act. I would need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, Ginger.
Closed session.
A second.
Second, Paul. Terry, call the roll on that, please.
Trustee Burroway,
Yes.
Trustee Stevens. Stevens?
Yes.
Trustee Humper?
Yes.
Trustee Sabi?
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn?
Yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Move to executive closed session.
Ed.